designing a drug and then recognizing that one particular formulation may not work, or the way it's being administered may not work in one group of people versus another. So if you have a diversity of individuals in the trial, as I said, both gender and ethnicity and age and even the severity of the disease, because even in diabetes you can have newly diagnosed diabetics and those who've been diabetic for many, many years. Their response to medicines are totally different, even though it's the same disease. So having an opportunity to evaluate that under proper controlled settings is very important.
So you tell me, when a new drug comes out, it affects each race differently, or just that different individuals differently?
It can. It depends on the drug. It depends on what type of disease it's treating. So there are some drugs that are more efficacious in one ethnic group than another. Example, there was a drug that came out for the treatment of cancer. In the general population, it didn't really show much efficacy. But in the Asian population, it had a marked reduction on the tumor. The same thing regarding hypertension. Very prevalent disease among the African American and Latino patient population. There was one drug called Bildel that was used in the general population in a huge clinical trial. Most of the patients in the study were Caucasian. Didn't really show much efficacy. However, when a set group of the scientists pulled the data and began to look at certain patient populations, i.e. the African American, they found it was greatly beneficial. So having that premise, they decided to do a study just with that drug, just in African Americans, and now there's a drug for treatment of heart failure and hypertension that is exclusively beneficial, more so in African American than any other patient population.
I want to drive this issue home. What is meant by health and healthcare disparities?
It's a very popular term that's bounced around a lot, but essentially what it means is that the way that either screening or treatment is varied based on where an individual is coming from in life. So for instance, depending on their ethnicity or depending on their socioeconomic status, they may not be getting that same options or algorithm of treatment for others.
Okay. Can you tell me how important is for the person to stay in contact with their personal physician?
Very important. And even when one desires to participate in a clinical trial, the physician that is the investigator, that's what we call the doctor who's actually doing the trial, will work very closely with that patient's primary care physician, so they will understand what they are going, what the expectations are of the drug, what kind of things to look for. So it's a partnership.
So what are some of the risks that might happen in a clinical trial?
Some of the risks is that, again, we are working with a new drug and not understanding yet how it works. And so there's always that safety risk. That's why we monitor the patients very, very closely for looking at their bloods, looking at imaging. Depending, again, what the disease state they're looking at will determine what kind of things we look for. Understanding the mechanism of action for the drug helps us understand how that drug might act in both the positive side as well as the negative side, and so we can judge our assessment of the drug from that. So
God forbid something was to go wrong in the trial, what's the steps that are safety measures that are in place to safeguard the individual's life?
Well, first off, the patient or subject has to sign what we call informed consent, where they list all the potential things that could happen on the drug based on what they know to that date. And if the patient agrees and understands what's being said, they sign that. If in the event there is something that would occur during the course of the trial, immediately they are to contact their physician and let them know what's going on, and emergency methods will be taken care of. The nice thing about being in a clinical trial is that it is truly an opportunity for optimal medical care. You are watched like a hawk. And so anything that you may not think is important, they still would want you to report it because it could be an early sign of something.
So how, if an individual wants to be a part of a clinical trial, what's the steps that one must take?
Well, I mean, now, due to our age of computers, people can pretty much go online and look at, you know, the various clinical trials. They can contact their local medical center and find out what trials are being done in a particular disease state. Some institutions, even like doctors' offices that do clinical trials, may even put something in the paper or saying, or post things around the area to say we're looking for a patient of a particular type, and then a patient can investigate from that.
So what are some of the questions that one should ask their personal physician when they are considering becoming a part of a clinical trial?
They should ask their physician if they are aware of any trials that are coming on that are relative to the disease state that they have. And if they think that particular drug that's being investigated has the potential to might be something that may be beneficial to them or to others who might have the disease. And most physicians, if they themselves are not aware of, they do know the resources in which they can check into it and get back to the patient with that information.
Why is Eli Lilly so passionate about having more African Americans and Latino Americans participate in clinical trials?
Well, it kind of goes back to our brand, you know, providing answers that matter. And we want to make sure that we're developing drugs that are going to be beneficial to all people. And the only way to do that is to be able to assess those people during the development of the drug.
She is Dr. Theressa Wright, Senior Medical Director here at the wonderful Eli Lilly headquarters. I thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
There are more than 29 million Americans without insurance who need help paying for their medicines. That's why there's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance. Through this free service, people who need help can call 1-888-4PPA now to see if they may qualify. Many get their medicines for free or nearly free, and I'm talking more than 2,500 brand name and generic medicines. Do you need help? Write down the number you see. It's your medicine. It's your life. It's your time to call.
I thank you for joining me today, where we had a conversation about the importance of African Americans and Latino Americans participating in clinical trials. And remember to face the sunshine, and the shadows will fall behind.